Very good morning. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to all the students. Okay, for today, we are doing the topic overview of development of Islamic financial system and institution. So, I have a general overview of the Islamic financial system, or in short, we call it IFS. Yeah. So we have 4 learning objectives down there to identify significant phase of development of Islamic finance, to describe essential components and features of Islamic financial system, 3, explain important factors influencing development of Islamic financial system, and 4, explain the nature of Islamic financing system. So throughout the class, throughout the lecture, you must pay attention to these 4 learning objectives, so that these are the points that you need to understand for this lecture. The rest is not to say not important, but if you can understand these 4 learning objectives that we're going to deliver, that will help you to understand overall the subject that we are learning today. Yeah. Okay, on introduction, Islamic finance has gained significant recognition and established a strong presence in the finance industry of several countries. Let me highlight a little bit that from the conventional banking system and the Islamic finance system, the Islamic banking system is start to be mooted out or start to be established is in 1940. Compare the first conventional banking was set up in 1472 in Tuscan, Italy. Tuscan is a city in Italy above Rome. So you can compare is 1472, that is in the 15th century, where the first conventional banking is already established. Compared to Islamic banking, is established in 1940 when they start establishing Islamic financial banking and system. That is 19th century. So there are 3 century difference from the commercial banking setup and the Islamic banking or IFS setting up. So through this lecture, if you listen carefully and see the slide and you read the notes that we provided, it's very interesting for you to understand the different development, different product, see how the conventional system has gone very much matured, whereas Islamic financial system, we can say maybe still in the infant stage, start baru mula, and not really even up to the amateur stage. So there are a lot of more rooms to catch up for the Islamic financial system. Nevertheless, by saying that, we can see later on that the Islamic financial system is catching up very fast with the conventional banking system, which is 300 years set up earlier, or 3 decades earlier than the Islamic financial system. So in this chapter, we'll be introduced the various experiences of each of these countries and the background of the development of Islamic financial system. As I said just now, it started mooted out in 1940. This is more in the Middle East, where the Islamic religion is very strong. So then we'll see how it's spread up from the Middle East country on this Islamic financial system towards other Islamic country, for example, Malaysia and other Southeast Asia country. Third one, the main component and the feature that make up Islamic finance and the nature of direct indirect financing in context of Islamic finance. We will teach you what is the direct and indirect financing in context of Islamic finance system. This is important for you to understand. This may be an examinable area that will ask you. Then last one, paying particular attention on the unique components and features of IFS will enable you to appreciate the development of Islamic finance and its implication on the financial industry. That's why I did mention just now for you to really pay some deep interest of this subject. Then you will learn, not only learn, but you can see the difference between the conventional and Islamic finance system, and then you can appreciate. The point, the word here they put down is they appreciate how this Islamic financial system benefits you as a customer. Okay, that's very important. You're not learning here. Here is only learning, but you're going to use this in your daily life. So this subject is more to your benefit than only for learning to pass the examination. Yeah. Okay. Modern IFS. All economic activities must comply with religious injunction. Religious injunction, what is meant is those revealed in the Quran. Whatever revealed by Allah SWT, the God, is called it religious injunction lah. Number two, the law and guiding principle in Islamic finance are derived from two primary sources, namely the Quran and the tradition of Prophet Muhammad, or in Islam we call it hadith, yeah? Hadith. So normally in short it says there the true primary sources of Islamic finance is from Al-Quran and Hadith. Secondary, then we'll see what are the sources from the secondary sources later on. Yeah. A bit on the geographical development of the IFS. The early development of IFS was focused on welfare and benefit of Muslims on their own domestic location. So in 1940, when this idea of Islamic finance came up, it's more focused on helping each other in that local society or in that domestic location. For example, it was mooted this idea in the Middle East, in Saudi, in Dubai. So the financing is more talking about the welfare of the population in those areas. Yeah. Then second stage, there was the Mit Gamer Saving Bank in Egypt was set up. Yeah. So there's the first bank, but that time still not commercial bank, it's a saving bank. Like here we call it macam Bank Simpanan Nasional lah. Yeah. It's not commercial bank yet. So again, what is this saving bank? It's more like in America they call it community bank, like cooperative bank. It's more like helping each other kind of bank. It's non-commercial yet. Yeah. So that is the first step of the Islamic bank. And in Malaysia, it's 1972, if not mistaken, you check the date. We set up the first kind of, not say bank, kind of funds. We call it the Tabung Haji or Pilgrimage Fund Board in Malaysia. Was the first to offer specific Islamic finance activity. It's not bank per se, but it's just like funds, which again is similar like saving bank lah, like similar like saving bank. But the point here is this pilgrimage fund is only specific for people to pull out their money or to keep the money or to save their money in this saving fund board for them to go for pilgrimage to Mecca to perform, they call it Haji, H-A-J-I. Yeah? So that was the first kind of Islamic fund operation in Malaysia. That is the Tabung Haji or the pilgrimage fund board. Then the real bank setup, commercial bank setup was in Dubai. They call it Dubai Islamic Bank. Was the first commercial bank to establish Islamic finance. It's in 1980s. I will check the date, no problem. Just to let you know. So that is the first Islamic bank, commercial bank set up in the Islamic world. Okay. So as we know, this concept of helping each other or banking each other or whatever funds we call it is totally not new. Yeah. When Islam was born 1,400 years, where Prophet Muhammad was a prophet appointed by God at the age of 40 years old, when he received the revelation of whatever in the Quran when he was age of 40 years on the Islamic Sharia laws and other things. So at that time, there already Sharia law which mentioned about this Islamic finance. What we read in the Quran today, the revelation on the Sharia law, is not yesterday. It's 1,500 years ago. All is there. The same Quran today is the same revelation in the Quran 1,400 years ago. It's only as we believe in the Islamic religion that the revelation, they book it or write it in a book called Quran, is the last revelation by God and is meant for until the final judgment day. It's different from those revelation earlier in the Bible. The Bible, the laws, everything down there is only for that period of time and for the community at that time. Also previously, those revelation for Prophet Ibrahim in Zabur and all the other books revelation, yeah, is more meant for those prophet at that time and for the community at that time. Compare or contrast with the revelation in Al-Quran is revealed to Prophet Muhammad 1,400 years ago, and the same thing is going to be used until the final judgment day, and until today, we're talking about today, is already 1,450 years. So, what I'm trying to highlight here, the Sharia law in the Quran is not yesterday or previous month or previous year. It's already written there 1,450 years ago. It's only the development of the humankind from that time until today, the needs, whatever needs, is not there yet. That's why we always say that the Al-Quran is the final revelation. It's meant forever. It's not meant for that period of time. So even today, we still can use the Quran, refer back to the Quran, to use it for our detailed implementation of our financing system, which only in 1940 they start to look into that part of the Quran on the financing system, hardly about 40 years or 50 years ago, whereas the law is already 1,450 years ago. That's interesting if you know what we're talking today. Yeah, nothing is new in the Sharia law in the Quran. It's already written, again, I tell you, is 1,450 years ago. So, why suddenly, after 1,450 years ago, only in 1940, the Muslim people or Islam people looking into a proper setup of the banking system? What factors influence the development of this Islamic financial system in 1940? Well, it doesn't mean that 1,400 years ago, there's no banking system. What I'm trying to say, there's no system in the commerce industry down there. They have, but they didn't call it bank. Yeah, they call it many kinds of way, but there are the procedure in the banking system is already in place 1,400 years ago in the Islamic society. Yeah, and they've been practicing it. And some sources said even the banking start in Italy, the first commercial bank start in Italy 300 years ago. Part and parcel of them, they took it from the Islamic financing system which been operating 1,400 years ago. It's only they structured it into a proper structure and they call it banks. Yeah. Interesting if you read how this word banks come about. If you go deeper to the internet, if you want to know, bank, B-A-N-K. In Italy, when you sit on a stool, on a plank of the stool, it called bangku. Like in Malaysia, we call also bangku. Kita duduk atas bangku. We sit on the stool. So all those people, before they set up the bank 300 years ago, they have kind of, like here in Malaysia, the along system. Yeah, they lend money among themselves to the financing, but no proper structure, no proper regulation. So they sit on this bangku, on the stool. So if you want to borrow money, you just go to the people sit on the bangku. So in the end, they call it, when they set up the proper bank, they call it banks. It's part of history lah. You want to know how the word bank comes about. It's interesting. Yeah? We learn it. You just Google in the Google, find out how this word bank comes about. You read a very interesting story behind it. So back to the here, as I said, in 1940, it's just that the Islamic community want to make it into proper structure as what the commercial bank did in 1914, in 1972 in Italy. But doesn't mean that the Islamic system have no financial banking system before that. It's already there 1,400 years ago. Yeah. So in 1940, factors that influencing of the proper setting up of Islamic bank with proper regulation, with proper monitoring kind of thing. Because number one, the driver for the initial development of the Islamic finance in Middle East was the oil boom in 1970. 1940, they start talking already, setting up the bank, which you saw earlier. They set up the saving bank, and in Malaysia, we set up the pilgrimage fund, but we have not set a proper bank. But when the oil price boom in 1970, what mean here is that the Islamic country produce a lot of oil. There's a lot of money, billions of money. Now they don't know where to keep the money or what to use the money. These are excess money. They don't need use it for their own country. Yeah. So they come up with this. The single banking system is a scheme that adopts an executive approach for Islamic finance from a legislative point of view. So they start up to formalize the banking system in Islam so that they can keep the excess money from the oil boom and make use it for more proper and structured way. So next step was a dual banking system allow for coexistence of both conventional and Islamic finance activities and operation within the national market. So to jumpstart, to set up a bank is not easy. With the proper regulation, with the proper monitoring, with the proper setup, all kind of thing is not can do overnight. So the country opt or choose to do a dual banking system. Country like in Middle East, in Pakistan, and then in Malaysia, they allowed the current commercial bank also run a Islamic banking system. So initially in Malaysia, when they start, we can see in one bank, they said in Maybank, then there's another counter inside the bank, they call it Islamic banking, Maybank Islamic Bank. That time it's just not a full bank, it's just like a window. We call it just like one of the, a window only, I mean one section lah of the bank. And the methods goes developed today. You can see really a separation. For example, now you can see one says Maybank, Malaysian Bank, yeah, Maybank. Then the other branch you may say Maybank Islamic. Then you can see now two different separation of bank, but different branch. Early on, it was a one bank but two system, so they call it here dual system lah. Yeah. Today you can see two different bank. So in this dual system, initially it also allows conventional financial institution to offer Islamic financial product through a window or a counter established within the bank. That's what I just explained to you just now. Yeah? So summary of the major factors, yeah, of development of ISFI, is what I've been lecturing just now. Number one, Islamic economic ideas stimulated the need for Islamic economic institution to address the social well-being and religious obligation of Muslim in a financial matter, both individuals and corporation. So the needs to see more proper way of structured to have the social welfare and religious obligation, which before they already have, but as I said, is not properly structured, not properly monitored, and kind of thing. Next one, the cross-border and international effort by the OIC. What is OIC? OIC means overseas Islamic countries. Yeah. So like in Middle East, they're talking they are the Islamic countries. But outside Middle East, like Malaysia, Indonesia, and in African countries, Somalia, kind of thing, these are also Islamic countries, so they call it Overseas Islamic Country, OIC. To assist in economic development of member countries using Islamic financial instruments. So what happened just now, when in the Middle East, there is oil boom, when there is so much money, the revenue they get from the oil, they cannot use it for their own development. They have the excess fund, so they set up this proper banking system to help other countries. For example, to help Islamic country like Somalia, Sudan, and other Muslim country, like last time also in Malaysia, Indonesia. So they set up a bank, they call it IDB, Islamic Development Bank, for them to channel economic development in this member country, in this member overseas Islamic country, using the way of Islamic financial instrument. If last time they want to have, can, but then they have to put the money into the conventional bank, and conventional bank will have this overseas Islamic country, but they don't have the Islamic financial instrument. They go back to the interest bearing kind of thing, which is forbidden in Islam. So that's why they have to set up the Islamic banking so that they can lend the money or borrow the money using the Islamic financial system. Not to say that they cannot keep their money in the commercial bank, but the problem, the commercial bank will be not able to borrow money to the overseas Islamic country using Islamic financial instrument, which is according to the Sharia law. The impact of the oil boom on the liquidity of the Muslim oil-dominated wealth economy. This is already mentioned just now. Because of the revenue from the oil boom, oil sale was so much. So now they have the liquidity, they got so much money. So there's a chance for them to help the other Muslim country. Same like before, we're talking about when they set up the Islamic finance community, is to help the well-being of the domestic community. Now they are talking with the extra money to help the well-being of the overseas Islamic countries. Yeah. Okay, last one, the implementation of Sharia principle to govern Islamic financial activities, resulting in the establishment of single and dual Islamic banking system with single or dual legislation. We'll see what is that meaning in the preceding lecture lah. Okay, the major factor development of AFIs, the explosion or the boom of the innovative product of the AFS. So when they have their own banking system, they also come up with a lot of proliferation or innovative kind of product to help or to give, to borrow the money to the borrowers. We can learn from the product lah that we have learned and we to learn. The contribution of Sharia-based expertise in the development of affairs. Now, they really use the Sharia-based law and they need people with expertise in the development of the IFS so that it will conquer or it will follow the Sharia law. Third, the establishment of Sharia. This way come the regulatory and the governance framework and policy to promote standard, guideline and the best practice from the Sharia-based expertise people. And then the active involvement of global financial institutions in the Islamic finance services industry. If before the finance is more talking about domestic, now the financial system in Islamic is more global, so now they will have more involvement from other countries to have feedback, to have inputs, how this IFS product can develop based in the Sharia law. Please bear in mind, in the Quran, there's no detail of the product of the financial services. It's just a general guideline how the financing should be proceed. And I only said that you must understand there are 4 things that in the Sharia law lead the principle. There is should be no interest, there should be no uncertainty, there should be no gambling, and there should be no product which is haram. So in the Quran only mention these 4 things. But there's no individual product as you can see today. You're talking about mudarabah, you're talking about musyawarah, you're talking about istina, you're talking about Islam salam product. That is not in the Quran. That is all have to develop through the Sharia-based expertise people, and through then they have to regulate it, and they come up with the product, and that's how the product is coming out. So don't think that it's all this product mentioned in Quran. Quran doesn't mention, because Quran is a brief revelation. Then the rest is for the human being to think, to develop. Why? Why this thing happened? Because the God said, I give you the brain, you use the brain to produce what you want. I give you 2 hands and 2 legs, you use it how to produce your agriculture product, that kind of things. Yeah. So the God is going not to lay you every one detail, because the detail is your brain have to work. That's where the difference between human being and non-human being. All human being, you and me, have brains. All non-human being, animals, plants, everything, they don't have brains. Yeah, please. That's how you should understand a little bit what this is Islamic law is all about. And then the last one, the active involvement of God. Okay, I already mentioned that one. Okay, we go to the next slide. Okay, as I said just now, if you pay attention, you will be interesting to see. First stage is the prior to 1970, which they start in 1940. Yeah, that they come with the idea. I mean, they start doing all kind of Islamic financing, but not proper structured. And it's not only before 1940, but it's already started 1,400 years ago. There's already this Sharia law is already give you the guideline, the 4 guideline. You don't do any riba, no uncertainty, no gambling, no any haram product to sell like beer or drugs or kind of thing. So these 4 principles is already 1,400 years ago. The commercial has used it. Yeah, we're not talking today. Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's only now they put into the proper structure that we are learning now, the Islamic financial system. That is start from 1940. Then now we call it the first stage Islamic ada 1970. Yeah, 1980 still talking about Islamic. Like Malaysia, we start with the Tabung Haji or the Pilgrimage Fund in late 1970 or 80. Yeah. So the second thing happening was the oil boom, the oil revenue. What is oil boom now? The oil revenue from the Islamic countries surplus so much from the sale of the production of the oil. So we call it oil boom. So that was in 1970, where they have to look seriously now how to set up a proper banking. So then came 1980, where the basic legislation regulation was setting up. Then continue to 1990 and 2020. And then next phase, they come with the governance and standard and the best practice. That's where they have the Sharia board and the AAOFI, the Association of Finance, Islamic Finance. Yeah. Then the next stage, they come with all the product lah, the innovative product. First product is only Mudarabah, Musyarakah. Now today you can get a lot more the Islamic financial system product that we are learning. And then they have the Sharia-based expertise to oversee this product development and the product development compliance, not only the development, but the implementation. So that the implementation, not only to see the product, but to see, make sure the product comply with the Sharia law during the implementation stage. Yeah. Then next stage now come in 1990 also, involvement of Western financial institution, the commercial banking, the center banking in the world in London, also now welcoming the Islamic financial system to set up side by side in their Islamic financial center in London. So today in London is one of the biggest Islamic financial center, not only the conventional bank, but also the Islamic bank. Very interesting. Yeah. So that's why I said, if you this subject is a bit difficult, but it's a very interesting subject. Yeah. Okay. Islamic financial system features and components. So the development of the proper standard setting process is a crucial factor in development of IFS. So when they set up the proper regulation kind of thing, with the previous slide, you see how the developments come step by step. So it's very clear, I already explained. So the development financial system must have financial regulatory bodies and legislate. So before the slide, we'll see how come the regulatory bodies, and then how the legislation come into the picture. So this is the stages. And then govern and regulate the industry to ensure the sound and stable system through effective supervision, disclosure, transparency, and market discipline. This same like the conventional banking system. They have the same system. Okay. So it's no double standard. They are not below par or kind of thing. All these are following also the same conventional banking system, which at the same have regulative ready and board that is overlooking the whole financial system. But here is more, they are looking on the Sharia law aspect, which is no interest, no uncertainty, no gambling, and no haram product. Very simple. These are the four things, their job to look. Even there's a dot, something inside that business which is halal, which is haram, then they said this Islamic finance cannot participate. Okay. The unique features of Islamic financial system. The purpose of IFS is to mobilize global and regional resources to promote sustained development while fulfilling the goal of Sharia. Distinguishing features of the IFS are risk sharing, equitable distribution, Sharia board, internal Sharia control. Okay, the first part, as I said just now, when Malaysia we need 5 billion. So maybe nobody in Malaysia can buy the government sukuk bond, but extra money, the oil surplus from Saudi Arabia. So they have the money there. So they mobilize their fund to buy Malaysia 5 billion bond. Some sort like they lend their money to the Malaysian government through the sukuk bond. So the purpose of bank just now, because of the setting of the bank, so the Islamic Bank Malaysia can sell the bond to the Saudi government for 5 billion. Let's say nobody want to buy in Malaysia lah. So that they can get the money and give it to the Malaysian government which need the money. So one of these IFS features is to mobilize the excess fund from other Islamic country to those country we need the funds for their development. Of course, here the government will guarantee and the government will pay back the money to the Saudi government lah. Yeah. Second part, distinguishing features of the IFS are risk sharing. The other distinguishing feature of IFS, as I said, is risk sharing. You are partner, yeah, in the business, and must be product or whatever business you do must be within the Sharia compliance law, which is going to be determined by the Sharia board members. And at the end of the day, when you make money, you have to have the pay to the zakat obligation. Yeah. Whereas in zakat obligation, then here the zakat you can have back the poor people. These are the unique features lah. Whereas in the conventional banking, they don't have. First, they don't have even a product that can help the poor people like Khat Asan. Second thing, they don't have zakat payment to help to the 7 people who are qualified to get the zakat. So this is another unique features in IFS. Not only they make money, but they really have to have the social corporate responsibility, which is already part in the legislation. Yeah. Okay, what are the unique features of IFS? So regulation and supervision governance. For example, the case of investment account, deposit shall not be deemed as a liability to the bank because the deposit raised under mudarabah contract is not a loan. This should be further reflected in relevant regulatory framework and guidelines such as capital adequacy. Okay, let me explain this in simple terms. You read this one, I don't think so you will understand, especially your first time. What here they are trying to say, if take very simple, you open a saving account in the conventional bank and you open a saving account in the Islamic bank. In the conventional bank, when you saving account, they said open your account saving year, I give you interest 3% a year. I repeat again, you want to understand. You open a saving account, the bank said you keep your money in the saving account and you will earn interest 3% a year. The fixed deposit different, yeah? I'm talking about saving account. You don't get confused. Fixed deposit is different kind of deposit. This is just a saving account. Because you as a student need a saving account to apply PTPN, to apply debit card, all kind of thing. You need a saving account. If not, without saving account, they won't give you any bank card. You cannot open anything. Yeah? So you put there, maybe your parent give you 10,000 lah, you keep there in 1,000. So the bank said, I'll give you 3% a year from your 10,000 money in the saving account. Provided you don't use lah. You use, they don't give lah. Your mother put you 10,000, tomorrow you take out 10,000, no interest lah. Yeah? So if you keep that money 10,000 after you just open an account, because you just want to open an account, because of you want to get the debit card or kind of thing, and you don't use the money for a year, or you use the money some, but the balance is 8,000 in a year, they will give you the interest 3% based on the 8,000 ringgit. Here, the situation is that some sort like you loan the money to the bank, and the bank give you the interest. Okay, you understand the situation. Contrast now, you open same saving account in the Islamic bank, you put that 10,000 money, the Islamic bank welcome you to open a saving account that you need. They will give you also the debit card, and they keep your money 10,000, but they're not giving you interest. No interest. No interest. So this situation compared to the commercial bank, the commercial bank, as though that you loan the money to them, you put the money 10,000, they give you 3% interest. Whereas you put your money in this Islamic bank, they keep your money but they don't give you interest. That means they have no obligation to give you interest. So you're not loaning your money to the bank. You can see the difference. No? You can understand. No? You can understand. No? There's two different things. Yeah. But the Islamic bank said, okay, you keep the money here. I just keep the money for you. But you give me the authority. In case somebody want to borrow from my bank, and I will use your money to lend to them. At the end of the year, if there's any profit, I'll give you some, or I'll share with you. So at the end of the year, if there's a profit, they will give you some. That's why we call it hibah, H-I-B-B-H, not an equivalent to interest. But it's like interest lah, because you earn from your money. But here, you must make very clear, you keep the money in the commercial bank as though you loan the money to them, they give you interest. In Islamic bank, you keep the money, it's not a loan. You just keep the money. If they can use your money, if somebody want to borrow the money from the bank, they will lend you money, it's from the profit. If they have, they give you. But if they loan the money, there's no profit, they also not giving you anything. You get zero. That's the unique features of the Islamic banking for this one. Why? It's not an advantage, right, for you, because you don't get any interest. Because the problem, the four factors just now, if there's interest, it's riba. So you cannot take the riba. So because of that, the Islamic bank cannot give riba. Because if they practice riba, interest, like the commercial bank, there's no more Islamic bank. So for the Muslim, because they don't want to get themselves into the sins, dosa, sins, taking interest, they don't mind keeping the money in the Islamic bank. As long the money is safe down there, they can open an account. There's no sins, tidak ada dosa, no sins to them. And if the bank makes some money, they give some profit, hibah, they are happy. Because that one, not interest, it's not sin, they can take it and use it happily. Yeah? This is the thing that I need to explain so that you can understand what is the behind interest of this Islamic finance system. Why people take less money where there's other system can give you more money. Yeah? Look like not a smart choice, right? But there are reasons behind that. So I have to explain to you, then you may understand. 2. Financial product, services and services. The underlying contract, this product and services must not include any prohibited element. As I told you, should be no interest or riba, no uncertainty in their terms of condition, and no kind of gambling and no kind of haram product. Yeah. Financing of the real economic activities. Again, in Islamic finance, you only can give money or financing for real academic activities, but not for speculation. So in Islamic bank financial, returns of Islamic financial investment product must correlate with the profit generated by the underlying business activities and not by solely governed by the cost of fund and interest rate. So here we can see during the mudarabah or musyarakah concept, there are profit sharing, the risk and profit and also loss. So whereas in the normal commercial banking, they don't care whether you profit or loss. You have to pay them the fixed interest. So for a borrower like us, we will be happy to borrow from Islamic finance because they share the profit and loss together with us. Whereas in commercial bank, if you lose or you don't make money, you still pay them the interest. That's why now the Islamic banking system getting popular to all the Muslim and also the non-Muslim. Okay. Then for 1, risk sharing and equitable distribution. In the equity-based financial transaction, the profit allocation methods and distribution to claim holders must be equitable and be based on mutually agreed profit sharing ratio or profit and loss sharing ratio with adequate information disclosed. Yeah. So in the Islamic finance system, profit and sharing percentage you have to agree in the first before you start the business. If there's a profit 50-50 or 60-40, you have to agree both parties. Bank come up with the capital, you come up with your effort and business plan kind of thing. How is the profit sharing? Basically should be either 40-50, 60-50, that is normal. But you can see 80-20, it doesn't matter. Depend on both parties. And if they loss, you share loss, the profit, you share profit. Whereas in the financial commercial bank, no. You lose, you still have to pay. You profit, though, you still have to pay them. Yeah. So the unique of these features because of the profit loss sharing. What I am trying to say here, in the Islamic system, the bank involve you as a partner. Whereas in the commercial bank, they're not partner, they're just a lender. They don't care about your welfare. You make money, don't make money, they don't care. At the end of the day, you cannot pay, they make you bankrupt. Whereas in Islamic banking, you can't. How do you want to make you bankrupt? First thing, there's in Islamic Sharia law, there's no bankruptcy law. In Islamic Sharia law, if somebody cannot pay their debt, they said give them time to pay. If really they cannot pay for one reason, forgive. I mean, just write off the loan you give to them. That is the Sharia law. You cannot proceed to make them bankrupt or kind of thing. That's not in the Sharia law. Yeah. So in this conventional banking just now is more like a lender and borrower. Whereas in Sharia Islamic bank, they are your partner in the business. Conventional, they are not partner in the business. They don't care about your business. How you do the business, they don't care. Whereas here, they are partner. So mean what we call partner, both of us have to think together how to make profit. If we lose, we explain how we lose. Because you are partner. I mean, you borrow money from the commercial bank. You have two partners. Both of you have to think how to run the business, right? So here, bank become partner. Just imagine, it's very interesting. So this is the unique features of another one of the unique features of the Islamic financial system. Then they have this business must all within the Sharia compliant. So the internal Sharia review provide assurance that the financial institution adheres to the Sharia principle and rules prescribed in the relevant bodies, including the Sharia board and regulator. So the Sharia board system will tell the bank, if they sit in the Sharia board of main banking, they will tell the bank, okay, for this kind of financing, the Islamic bank can provide. For this kind of financing, you can't. Let's say, for example, a company want to set up a liquor company, beer company. They go to the bank, then the bank will send it to the Sharia board, said whether we can provide financing to set up this beer factory. So the Sharia board will refer back to their four main criteria, whether there's a riba element, whether there's uncertainty, whether there is gambling situation, and whether there is halal haram. In this case, there is number 4 lah. Number 4 is the beer is haram. So they said, no, you can't give finance for this beer factory. Very simple. Yeah, it's not that difficult. But sometimes they are blur in between. For example, they say that I want to build a tobacco factory. So that's where this Sharia board sometimes got little bit headache. Yeah, because some views said smoking is haram. Some Islamic scholars said it's not haram. They call it makruh in between. This sometimes is a problem because in the Quran doesn't mention specific whether you smoke or take drug is haram. But they have guideline. Anything that lose your mind is haram. So if you smoke, but it doesn't lose your mind, so then the Sharia board is maybe say okay, they allowed you to give the financing. But for drug, maybe the Sharia board say cannot because the people take drug, yeah, they lose their mind, kill people, rape people, all kind of thing. So they don't allow. And this is where the Sharia board come to the picture, because in the Islamic Sharia law there is no detail. So the detail is here. So here, what happened here? This is where they come. They call it secondary law. Okay, primary law is from the Al-Quran and the Prophet Muhammad saying or hadith. That is the primary law in the Sharia law. Secondary law is where the Sharia board will make their decision whether can or cannot based on the four principles. What is the four principles? I repeat again. There should be no interest element, there should be no uncertainty, there should no gambling, there should no haram product. Very simple. So you don't get this Islamic financial is very complicated. No, you must know the basic thing. Then the rest, yes, it's all complicated in implementation. But we're not going to implement. You're not going to sit as Sharia board. So we just learn. Unless you want to be a member of Sharia board, then you start get ready to have knowledge. Because there'll be headache down there. A lot of things come in between. You don't know how to decide. For example, I give you lah. I don't know whether you mature enough to understand. Kopi luwak, coffee from the apa tu mouse or something like that. Yeah, they eat the coffee and they come out as a sheet, and the coffee is still intact. So in Indonesia, this kopi luwak, yeah, is halal can, because the coffee they take by the animals now. We call it like mouse, the big one. Can't remember the name, midget or something like that. And when they come out, it's still no change. So as long as no change, it's still like coffee bean, because it doesn't, in the body of the animal, it doesn't chew. They become the same thing. So this kopi luwak in Indonesia is a big business. Billions of business down there. Supposed to be very nice after they pass through the animal stomach. So in Indonesia, the Sharia board say halal. But come to Malaysia, the Sharia board say haram. There. So you have this kind of things also happening. Yeah? Because this is not really clear in the Quran. So how are you going to say now? So it's up to you lah. Some people, they go to Indonesia, they drink the kopi luwak. But in Malaysia, they may be afraid because they said it's haram. And also in Malaysia, they don't sell kopi luwak because of the Sharia board sell haram. So these are the things that happening in the Sharia board sometime. Yeah, just to let you know, it's not a plain selling sitting down there and make easy decision. No. Yeah? Sometimes they have contradiction between one place and another, one country and another. These are the things still under discussion among them. Two Sharia board. Sharia board comprise scholars. Sharia board, you must be an Islamic scholars lah. Cannot just pick anything, Tim, Dog, Harry from the street to become a Sharia board. You must be very highly qualified Islamic scholars, whose duty is, in its opinion on the financial institution, and able to endorse the product and services. You see, you need to endorse the product. You say kopi luwak haram, then they cannot do anything. I want to borrow now 1 million to plant kopi luwak. But here they said haram, so the bank said no, Islamic bank cannot give. But Indonesia said halal, so Indonesia you can borrow. Adopted practice of many regulatory bodies. Third, corporate social responsibility. You must understand, in Islamic way, anything they must have a portion of social Islamic responsibility. It's not 100% for making money only. So in this core, reporting of Islamic financial institution, in addition, emitting regulatory and supervisory requirement should address information needs of the shareholders and investment account holders, as well as other relevant stakeholders in terms of corporate social responsibility. It doesn't mention here, but I can see like one of the corporate social responsibility is the Islamic product, they call it Qard Hasan, Qardhasan. This Qard Hasan is Islamic finance, which they finance the poor people. They don't have any charge them any profit or anything. And even if the poor people lose the money, they just have to forgive it. No payment can be made. So that is one of the social corporate responsibility of the Islamic bank. Whereas you don't have in a commercial bank. Everything you borrow in a bank, they charge you interest. Before you sign your paper, they already interest down there. But in Islamic bank, they got it under one section, Kad Hasan product, which is meant for the poor, very, very poor people to borrow, to do business or what they want to do. And there's no charge of profit there. And if they really, in the end, cannot pay the money to the bank just written off. For example, a simple thing like, for example, okay, they're very poor pula, want to build a small shed, cost 10,000, rumah murah lah, 10,000. So they borrow the card Hasan. So kalau you borrow money from the Islamic bank to buy a house 100,000, in 20 years, you have to pay 110,000 plus the profit, right? So here for the card Hasan, the bank say, okay, I give you 10,000 to build a house, but you just pay me back 10,000 the next 10 or 15 years. But if really they can't pay or they die in between, so the bank will just write off the money. So there's one section of the Islamic finance which have the corporate social responsibility, which you can find it in the conventional banking. And then yes, the next one is a zakat obligation. Zakat obligation, that means if the bank make profit, they have to pay zakat 2.5% of the net profit to be given to the poor people. There are 7 people can receive. You can check in the zakat in the internet who other people can receive the zakat lah. Yeah, the poor people, all kind of things. Is the people eligible to get the zakat. So they can give it direct to these people. They say they can give to the orphanage house, or they will give it to the Majlis Ugama. And then Majlis Ugama would distribute it to the orphanage house, to all the 7 section of people that can receive the zakat money. So okay, the payment of zakat is a compulsory annual payment, like tax worth lah. This zakat is like tax lah, tax worth. The amount paid is calculated after meeting the minimum requirement of certain quantum and the lapse of certain period. The payment of zakat by the IFIs has been made mandatory by relevant legislation. So if you want to know, maybe I explain. Simple. Like say the bank profit 1 year 10 million. So the zakat in Islamic, they have to pay 2.5%. That means out of 10 million, they have to pay 2.5% is 250,000. Yeah? Something like that. 2.5% of 10 million of the net profit. If 10%, 2.5 million is 2.5%. I think more than that lah. You calculate. Yeah? 10 million times 2.5%. How? Kan? 10 million times 2.5%. Yeah, 250,000, right? 250,000 paid as zakat to be given to the poor people, which is this is mandatory. So in Islamic banking, first after they make they say profit, they have to provide for the zakat. Then again, they have to follow the Malaysian government ruling to pay the company tax or the corporate tax. There's another tax to pay the government. But first thing, they have to pay the zakat. So not like non-Islamic bank or commercial bank, they don't pay the zakat because they are not under legislation. They are not entitled to pay zakat because they are not Islamic bank. They only pay the corporate tax to the government. Same like us, like we company, Muslim company. I am a Muslim. I make profit from my college. So I have to allocate 2.5% for zakat first, to pay the zakat first. Then only pay the government tax. But non-Muslim company, you don't need to pay the zakat. You just pay the tax if you make profit. Yeah. Here the zakat if you make profit. If you don't make profit, there's no zakat to be paid. Okay. Okay, components of Islamic financial system. So, okay, just now we mentioned also about indirect financing and direct financing. Okay, let's see the indirect financing. Islamic financing institution, Sharia board. Islamic banking institution, Takaful, Islamic non-banking institution. Okay, this part is very simple. All those the borrowing that they give to the people, they call it indirect financing. Let's say there is like the housing one, the mudarabah, musyarakah, yeah, all the Islamic product that you borrow from them, wadiah, your saving account, this come under indirect financing. Yeah. So all the takaful, all these are indirect financing. So what are direct financing? Islamic financial market, Islamic money market, Islamic capital market, equity, sukuk, Islamic fund. Okay, this one I simplified for you. For example, like sukuk bond. This is direct financing. Malaysian government or let's say Petronas want to borrow 5 billion for his setting up a factory, refining factory. So they will go to the Islamic bank. Islamic bank will raise up this sukuk bond, they call it. They call, let's say, for example, capital market. They will come up with a sukuk bond. They sell this sukuk for 5 billion. Then whoever want to buy the bond, you can buy to the bank, and then bank collect 5 billion. Then the money, they will give it to the Petronas to set up the factory. So what are the security? The security will be the 5 billion refinery that the Petronas want to set up will be the security. This is what we call it. Any funds, direct financing must have asset-based security. Or the government, Muhyiddin want 5 billion to money to build, to buy all the medical facility to cover all the COVID expenses. So they go to the bank will raise up 5 billion money, then you or anybody can buy the bonds, then this 5 billion they will give the government. Here what is security? Because government are borrowing, they don't need to give asset, but they give the government guarantee. The whole government Malaysia are guarantee. That means the whole Malaysia land is guaranteed to the bank lah, in a way to say lah. So they need don't need a specific asset lah. When you talk government guarantee, that means the whole Malaysia is guaranteed them lah. Yeah. And who is government? The government, we also part of the government. So indirectly, we also guaranteeing to the government. Yeah. That one we call it direct financing. So very simple to understand. Indirect is more on the Islamic product which you using to buy for your house, for your mudarabah, musyarakah, kind of thing. Direct financing is more for big loans. Yeah. Big companies, government, all kind of things. Yeah. It's a difference between direct and indirect financing activities of the Islamic financial system. Okay, we are talking about just now the product available. As I said just now, I already explained just now, the indirect financing system, the product available, which like mudarabah, all this kind of thing. It's already mentioned there. Putting Islamic finance to work, the financial intermediaries' income from indirect financing is gained from the spread the difference between their cost of fund and return for financing. Yeah. The spread compensatory come for a risk they accept, one of which is credit risk posed by the customer. This is talking because of the profit sharing lah, because there is no guarantee on the returns. Yeah, that is based on the mudarabah kind of thing. Whereas direct financing, this is more on just now I said sukuk bond kind of thing, which is bigger loans and borrowed by big corporation and also government, and to compensate for risk pricing, the reward investor return through dividend or coupon payment as well as capital gain, even as supplies fund or normally risk revenue, in Malaysian allocation of fund will reflect risk return. So for this sukuk bond kind of thing, you have this one is direct financing lah. Direct financing. Okay, this direct financing is part of also like profit sharing just now lah. It's not under sukuk bond yet. Yeah. The top one was the indirect financing is. Okay, that's more than enough for you to understand. Some of the thing little bit complicated. Not to worry. Yeah. So it's part and parcel of a learning process. So in conclusion, the development of modern IFIs has been ongoing since I said in 1940 lah. Yeah. But this talking again here, development of modern IFIs, yeah, modern Islamic financial system. Whereas the Islamic financial system already started 1,450 years ago. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Only the modern development because they're trying to make it more like the commercial bank. As a result of a need of Islamic economic and finance to address economic and financial problems differently for Western economic and financial institutions. So as I said, during 1,400 years ago, the Islamic financial system is there, but it's more for the domestic use only. So they don't need really a proper structure of a kind of thing. So, but then when this now, because of the oil boom kind of thing, where there's a surplus of money from each of those countries which have surplus money, so that's where the development of the Islamic financial system have to be according to the current trend of the conventional system. Number two, initially most of the product developed was Sharia compliant product that have been restructured for conventional Western financial product to meet Sharia requirement. Later, new inherent compliance product evolved from source of the principle of Sharia. Okay, interesting to note here. Initially, what happened when they start the Islamic finance product, Islamic finance bank product, they actually use the conventional product, but they improvise it to become a Sharia compliant product. That's why initially people said, oh, there's no difference between the conventional and Sharia. They just take the Sharia one and then they convert it into, they take the conventional one and then they convert it into Sharia compliant product only. Some people said they don't see any much of dynamic or any much of new things out there. So that was the first stage lah. So after that happened, then now they coming with their own, they develop their own financial product, which is some of them are different from the conventional banking product. Some of them still having the conventional product, which they already changed it into the Sharia product. So these are sometimes people still say that actually the Islamic finance, if you read lah somewhere here and there in the comment by some people, they will say actually Sharia compliant product is none, then they just take the conventional product and convert it into Sharia compliant. Yes, that was sure. That was true when they first started the Islamic foreign product, because they need to do that. So if not, people don't understand the product, is very difficult. So now they are coming with their own way of a Sharia compliant product, when they is much some of them much different from the conventional product. For example, card asan, you don't have a free interest kind of loan in conventional banking. So earlier on, there's no card asan, for example. Yeah. So these are the things they come up with a lot more new product, Sharia compliant, which you don't have that in the conventional banking. Probably conventional banking will try to copy, but it's impossible for them to copy because of issue of riba interest they have. They cannot convert those Sharia new product to their own product. So there's more interesting now. We can see more Sharia compliant product which are going away from the traditional conventional banking product. Third, the Islamic system does have several unique features as well as those like conventional counterpart. Yeah, we have seen just now those unique features, but there are some conventional counterpart, they have their own unique features also because of their interest kind of element. They can do many other things that the Sharia compliant cannot do. Yeah? So both world also have their pros and cons. It depends you or the customer at the end of the day to choose whichever one. That's why in Malaysia or anywhere in the world, this dual banking system still exists. Yeah, it's not 100% that the Sharia compliant can fulfill all the requirement that people needs or the customer need. Neither though the conventional can provide those all what the people need. So that's going in hand in hand. It's good. We have competition. We have two different kind of product. You need to learn and understand so that you can make the right choice for you and your family. Okay, that's where we are teaching here. Third, okay, number 4, Islamic finance have to meet the needs of a deficit units in the society. Deficit unit here, we're talking about poor people lah, people who needs lah. Through other indirect financing, which mainly banking product, or direct financing, which is mainly capital market product, such as shares, securities, also all that we have learned just now lah. Yeah. So these are the things for learning objective we have covered from beginning. We already mentioned, and in summary, we have already learned and we already mentioned down here. So that is for today's lecture. Thank you very much. I hope interesting knowledge for you, not only to pass your exam. This is very good for you to use, not only in future, even now. You can tell your parents, you can tell your friends, family, because the banking is there. You don't understand more the product, you can go to the bank, they will happy to tell you more detail. Because from what we study here, maybe in the practical part, implementation part, they still need things for you to understand and asking. Here is more with teaching you theory. Definitely in the implementation side, practical side, there's more here and there. You need to know before you use the banking, Islamic banking product. Thank you very much for the lesson, the lecture today. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll continue the next one, the next lecture lah. Yeah, thank you. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.